So today I'm going to introduce you to a special lady, Anna. Apples, that is. That's coming up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today on a very, very warm, early June evening. Got some overcast today, so we're really looking forward to being able to do a video where it's not quite as blazing hot and sunny on us at the same time. So actually what we're here talking about today is our Anna apple tree. And what you see behind me is kind of this tree in its saddest state that I think I've ever seen it at this point in the year. So as we've talked about, in fact, I'll link the video for our golden Dorset, so you can take a look at what that tree looks like at this same time. In fact, we did that video last night, so it's a one-day difference in the two. But one of the things that this tree really struggled with so far this year was that frost that we had in February. Really just destroyed the harvest on this tree. Last year, we got about a 5-gallon bucket, maybe a bucket and a half of apples off of this tree. They were good size apples. They ripened up very evenly. This year, not even close, just a fraction of the apples on this tree. And it's just struggling overall. But ultimately what it narrows down to with Anna apples, we'll talk a little bit about the apples themselves. We'll take a look at one, we'll test one out, we'll look at the final harvest. So Anna apples are a self-fruiting variety. However, they do cross-pollinate with the golden Dorset to help increase yields. Typically. Our golden Dorset's just to my right, so if Lori wants to pan over there, you guys can see the tree that we were talking about in that video that I linked for you. That's our golden Dorset, and really get a good idea of the difference between these two and the growth of these two. So Anna apples do cross-pollinate with the golden Dorset, mainly just for production and then the quality of fruit. The tree itself requires very little chill hours. Chill hours were a struggle for us this winter, with the exception of that really cold, hard frost at the end of February, which is what really killed this tree off. Not physically, but its production. I didn't do a lot of thinning. I'm going to point that out here in just a second. We'll talk about thinning and the importance, and my mistake this year of forgetting about this tree. But that's the Anna apple. Anna apples, when they're ripe, I've got a few that are actually probably overripe. That one feels overripe. But when they're ripe, they've got a red blush, typically. These are just not ripening up well because of that crazy frost that we had. So it's really struggling with that. Got a lot of damage. Not only bird damage, just frost damage as well. But let's talk a little bit about thinning. So one of the things that, in fact, I'll link our thinning video here when we talk about thinning your trees. In fact, it's an apple tree that I'll actually highlight in that video, and you'll see me thinning. This tree, I really kind of forgot about it when I was going through and thinning our apples, and this is a good example. So if you look down here, I've got a spur that's on the end of this branch, and this spur has got basically 5 apples on it still. It should have 2 or 3. Still, the apples are okay, fair size, but they're not ripening up all that well. They're pretty small, and then it's really pulling this branch just about straight down. So, you know, learn a lesson for me and what not to do. Don't forget to thin your apple trees. So that'll definitely help. Even with that, still just kind of a sad state of affairs with this tree. So what I am going to do, though, is I do want to pick one of these for you, so we can try it out. So I'm going to see if I can get one that doesn't have much in the way of damage. There we go. So now, size-wise, so this is a small Anna apple. Typically, it's probably about 50% bigger than that, about the size of the palm of my hand, similar to the size of the fruits I was picking in that Dorset video. So it definitely is small. I mean, actually still just a really pretty piece of fruit, but not getting that red blush like it should. And at this point in the year, it really should start seeing that. But let's try it. Okay. So, best way I can describe this, it's similar to the Dorset. A little mealier than the Dorset. Dorset's it's a little crispy flavor. It's still good. It's sweet, real mellow sweetness, real mellow tart. You know, probably could use another week on the tree, but it's already starting to get a little mealy. Which, if you guys have had apples that are mealy, I'm not a fan of mealy apples. That's why I like Honeycrisp apples. are going to be on the crisp side, which is why we usually harvest these a little bit early. So that's pretty much the Anna apple. What Lori and I are going to do, we're going to go through this tree. We want to give you an idea of what the harvest is going to look like on this tree, even with all the struggles that this tree has had. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that real quick, and then we'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're done. We've got our harvest off of our Anna apple tree, so I want to show you the harvest real quick. So we've got almost a 5-gallon bucket full. Got a couple good sized apples in there. Also got some small ones. Got a good amount of discard considering the smaller harvest from the Dorset tree. But overall, still got a good amount of apples. For this particular variety, we really do like this one for juicing. So we probably won't have too many of these fresh. We'll really kind of focus those in on juicing. Obviously, we'll share some of those with friends and family and neighbors as well. But that's our Anna apple. One thing I did want to talk about that I'd mentioned briefly, which you'll see behind me again is our Dorset. I want to talk a little bit more about rootstock. So the Anna apple tree that you see behind me, this actually was purchased from Home Depot. So we got it as a Home Depot tree. It's a Dave Wilson tree on Dave Wilson rootstock. I don't remember the rootstock on it offhand, but that Dorset that I talked about in our last video, that's actually a tree that we got from RSI Growers here in Phoenix, or actually in Glendale. And Reed with RSI Growers, let me tell you what, man, he knows what he's doing. We got that tree on rootstock that he grows here. You know, one thing about the Dorset that I have to be honest about, the Dorset is known for its very aggressive growth versus the Anna. The Anna always does struggle. But in the end, we do see a difference between the two. That being said, we did have a pretty good harvest off of it, particularly last year, but that tree is about 2 years behind this one as far as overall age. So just another plug for him. You know, if you're in the market for an apple tree, go talk to Reed. If you're here in Arizona, highly, highly recommend that. But that's going to be it for our Anna apple tree today. So just want to thank you for joining us today. You know what, if you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to our channel. You know, we've got a lot of exciting content coming up through the summertime with all of our fruit harvest, particularly in June and July. Really busy months for us, pretty much every day harvesting fruit. We're going to share that with you guys as much as we're able to. And hey, like the video and share it with friends and family, anybody who might be into this kind of thing with fruit trees, something that we really enjoy doing and love to share it. And you know, hey, if you have any questions or comments, leave in the comment section down below. Love to interact with you guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, you know what? We'll take them all. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, and if we can even still somehow get Anna apples off of a tree in 2018, if we can do that, so can you. Okay, so we're done. Look at all of the leaves down there. You know what that is on the ground? It's those leaf cutters. We'll have to get back to that one. But that's about it. I don't have anything else to say. I'm looking at red ants bringing stuff back to their hole.